Hello and welcome to the Women's Cave. I know, right? Because Winona's not with me. You just have boring Jay today. So sorry, y'all. I actually get to do it, though, and maybe do my whole spiel without anyone interrupting me, which is going to be weird. I might pause for effect because I'm just so used to Winona interrupting me during my whole, beginning thing. So I'm Jade, as I said before, and I am one of the members of the And I Thought Ladies. And we have written so many books, y'all. And we're going to have two more, one and a half, really, because one, we just kind of did a second edition because people wanted more poems, which that never normally happens. So we were like, of course we'll give you more poems. You want more? And so it's literally one and a half because the Women's Cave and other pop poems are coming out soon. And anyway, so you check out the top 4 books that everyone tells me that is amazing. So here it goes. And I Thought Divorce Was Bad with Other Life Lessons, which if you're watching this and not listening to it on the podcast, is right behind me with this new cover. And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy. Both of those are available on Audible and Amazon and all the other places. And then, and I Thought I Did My Journey Alone. And then If Only I Were Me, excuse me, only available on Barnes & Noble. So y'all can check that out. Wow, that is so amazing how quickly that gets done when no one's interrupting you. So blessings in the sky, y'all. Well, no, not here, so you got it quickly. All right, but you can find out everything that your ladies are doing, and I do mean everything your ladies are doing, and probably some of the things that you were like, why would they share that boringness? Yeah, all of that on www.andwethought.com. But today we have a wonderful guest. I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marlon Saunders. Jay, it's good to see you. Thank you for having me here today. It's good hanging out with you.
Absolutely. This is so fun. So imagine my surprise. I'm watching a documentary and they're talking about this amazing person. And I'm like, oh, wow. I wonder where he's Maryland. Wait, I know this person. We have to email him immediately to come on the show.
You did.
So tell everyone what you do. What documentary you were in.
All right. Well, I actually in the music industry, so I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, also an educator. And the documentary that Jade is speaking of was a documentary written and produced and filmed by Tracy Annarella. The documentary is called Not Black Enough. And just looks at, the complexities, and the confrontations and just the whole mindset of the body temple, being and trying to come to terms with loving yourself completely in your Blackness without having to compare it to anyone else. And so she came to me to write the song basically for the documentary, and I said yeah. And then so I wrote the song, and then she wanted me to do the arrangement with the choir that comes in at the end. And then I ended up being in the documentary, so it was good.
I'm so happy you were in the documentary, though, so I could email you immediately and who is this person? So how did you get into songwriting? Was it did you always want to write, and did you just kind of slowly get into songwriting, or was it one day you were like, hey, I can do that, and let me just do this?
I grew up on the Eastern Shore of Maryland in a small town called Chestertown, the Upper Eastern Shore. And
you just have to say, seriously, y'all, I used to be the guy from Chestertown.
Well, no. Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? All right, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, but yeah. And then when they said Chestertown, Maryland, I was like, what?
Oh, yeah. I grew up there, and I just gravitated towards music, piano playing and singing when I was about 5. In the church, kind of started to play. But by the time I was 12, I kind of knew I want to do this for a living. And so I didn't really know how to do it. I knew, how to go to school and practice and all that and go, but I didn't know how to break into contemporary music, Black music, soul music, R&B. And I went away first to Peabody Conservatory in Baltimore. I stayed there for a year, but it was too classical. And then I was like, I want to go to either Howard or Berklee. And so my sister wanted to go to Howard. My dad was like, nah, you can't go to Howard. You need to separate the two of you. My sister and I are very close. So I went to Berklee. And at Berklee, I learned about, songwriting. I learned about session singing, arranging, all of that. And so that kind of took me to New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you went East Coast, West Coast, back to the East Coast.
Well, Berklee, when I say, I'm sorry, and that's my fault. I meant to say Berklee College of Music, which is actually, I went from Eastern Shore of Maryland to Baltimore to cold as Boston. And then back, and then.
So yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. Apparently my notes aren't working for me today. How about that?
You're doing good.
Wow, Maryland. I mean, you were from Maryland, like, so it kind of doesn't have. We get cold, but we don't have like cold like Boston. Like Boston cold.
It's not cold like Boston.
That's a different beat. That's a different
thing. It's got that Canadian thing coming down on it, so it's cold.
Yes. I salute you, sir. I don't know if I could be that cold. Like I don't. I mean, it works for an education. Maybe for an education, I could do that. So did you really, what I'm trying to get you to say is that poetry is cool, and you started like your whole journey from poetry. So that's what.
Well, you know what? Actually, poetry is cool. I love poetry, and poetry is a beautiful thing. I think with songwriting and poetry, at least for me, when I'm songwriting, I'm thinking about how to make the best of the words, how to make the best of the flow in terms of it being thought-provoking, emotionally evoking, and just creative and making me feel good. I just released a single called Dark Day in June, I think it was, or July. And when I think about how the song starts, it actually starts off with, I wonder if Jesus sang the blues. I picked that line specifically because it's one of these lines that when you hear it, you're kind of like, what? What did he just say? Or what
that was a good line. That was a good line.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we are pop poets, right? So, I always try to encourage the songwriters. Like, I pull their teeth to say that that poetry is cool, right? So I could be like, see, I'm not such a nerd. I have cool too. I write poetry.
Absolutely, poetry is amazing. We need poetry.
Absolutely, we do. Because I mean, what else would I write? I don't know. I wouldn't have a job anymore. So let's talk a little bit more about you and your journey. So you went to Boston, you went back down to New York, and then what happened?
And I broke into my whole dream, believe it or not, Jade, was to be a session singer. Like I grew up looking at, recordings by Luther Vandross, and one of the first things that just blew my mind was when I heard Quincy Jones sounds and stuff like that when I was a kid. But I was enamored by who was on the background singing. I was like, how do they do that? Like, what do you do, and how do you get in that world? And I think I was so into that because I was a geek for like harmonies and stuff, playing instruments. So I love putting voices together. So I grew up and I would be reading credits and seeing Fonzie Thornton, Tawatha Agee, all of these names, And I just said, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to do that. And I was fortunate enough to break into that industry and sing with all of these singers. And then I was able to, I went on tour. I toured with Michael Jackson. I went on the road with Sting. I did some work with Billy Joel, Bobby McFerrin. Most recently, I did the tour with Stevie Wonder when he just did the recent Songs in the Key of Life. I worked with Sam Smith. So I've been pretty fortunate, in the industry for what I do.
Absolutely. I mean, and you have to love the background singers, and I understand what you're talking about. But I mean, because it's not that we don't love the famous names. Like, don't get us wrong, I love the famous names. But sometimes you're like, wow, that harmony that they just did. What is that? Like, who are they? Because that's skill, that's dedication to your craft. Not saying that the famous people in front do not have dedication to their craft, but still, everyone on that stage kind of has dedication to their craft. And when you hear it, you're like, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate exactly what you're saying. Absolutely. So, where can people find out more about you and what you do, and the movie, the documentary even?
Yeah. I think the easiest way is either my website, marlonsaunders.com, or you can follow me on Instagram. You know, that seems to be a big way. Instagram, Marlon Saunders, so I'm there too. But that's the easiest way to kind of get in touch with me and to say hello and let's follow each other and figure out and discover what we're all doing in terms of creativity and just in terms of living, you know. Especially now, you know, we live in a world now where I think we all need to feel some sense of community, some sense of togetherness. That's what blew me away, to be honest with you guys reaching out to me and how just so like, wow, we just checked you out. You're from Maryland. Oh my God, yes, we want to talk to you for an interview. At first, I thought to myself, is this a joke? Is this real? Like, like, are they serious? And then when I kind of researched you, and I was like, oh, this is incredible. I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to do this.
I mean, it was so amazing. I mean, Chestertown, Maryland, and I know that like maybe not everyone all over is understanding. So.
Right.
Well, Winona and I grew up is what we would call a small town in Maryland. Like we would be like, oh, we're from like a small town in Maryland. But literally, Chestertown is one of those places that you would drive through and think it wasn't anybody there. You'd be like, oh, it's like two families that live here. Yeah, literally, you can literally drive, and it's amazing to see, and it's really great to see that. I guess we would call it small town America. It's just small town people, they are doing such major things. And I think sometimes we forget, we think we all have to be from New York City or LA or London or like some major city in Brazil or something to make a name for ourselves. And that is just not true.
And you know,
thank you for proving everyone wrong.
My pleasure. I think one of the things that probably motivated me more than anything was the fact, you know, growing up from a small town, you kind of know that, hey, I'm from a small town. So if I'm going to be competitive in any way, I got to be ready to beast. I have to always be ready to go in. And so when I came to New York, I came in with this like mentality of like, I'm going to win. Because the other thing, Jade, is to get into that background world of music or to get into any type of poetry, like to be successful like you are, or to be successful in the industry, or to be successful in, you know, sports. It's not easy, you know, you've got to be really, really determined to get in. And so everybody that I kind of spoke to about this was like, you know what, that world is closed, man. You'll never get in. There's only like 60 singers that do everything. So there's no way you're going to get in. And in my mind, I was like, that's all you have to tell me, that I can't get in. I'm going to get in.
Only I can't, and watch me show you how.
Exactly.
So that actually leads into like one of my last questions, because I love to leave people with the words of advice that we have from people that have made it, people that are really creating in their craft. So what are the 3 words of advice, 3 things that you would give anyone trying to break in? And I think one of them would be don't give up. Because it seems like you're like, don't give up. Don't give up.
And I think in order that what has to come after that is rooted in what I would like to call faith and hope. You have to have a very, very strong vision, and you've got to actually live in that vision, believe in that vision even before it actually manifests. You've got to be so committed to the vision. And that really requires faith, family prayer, friend prayer, community prayer all around you. And I think the third thing that is key is what we're doing, like what we just did today. You've got to always make sure that you are willing to treat people with an open heart, because you never ever know how you're going to be connected to people and when that connection may turn back around or may be able to help you or you them. And I'm serious, like this connection completely because of Tracy and her movie and she and I being, let me explain this to you. This is important. I met Tracy on a gig, what we call in the industry, the upfronts. And we were doing it for Oprah's channel. And they needed a choir to come together. So I got a call to put a choir together and to conduct the choir. Tracy was actually on that gig as like doing more of the executive work, like making sure everybody was where they needed to be. And so she would send me emails to say like, oh, I'm putting this together. And she sent me an email back saying, I just want to thank you because you've been so thorough with getting me the names and making sure I had all of the passports and everything I needed. I was like, I understand this is it's pretty crazy around it. You're dealing with like 28 singers. And so when I finally met her, she was like, would you be interested in like having, coffee or tea? Because we kind of hit it off. I said, yeah, definitely. So she took me to lunch and she was like, I'm doing this documentary. And I just like the way that you were with the choir. I like the way that your whole vibe. I wonder if you would be willing to help. I shared that story just to share this notion of the connection, being open to connection, kind of like you and I here today, the openness. And I think it's very easy to forget that the connection and the community and being willing to just be benevolent, be kind to people is a key thing.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think we just did a literary panel with literary agents, and that said people forget that people are people. Like they see what they're doing and they're like, oh yeah, I want to do what you do. And you're like, yeah, but I'm still a person. Like I have hopes and dreams and sad days and good days. And, like I have like the days I just eat chips. Okay. There's days like I'm having chips today. And like every other human being on the earth. Okay?
Absolutely.
So when we see success, we need to also remember that people are behind it. And so with that being said, one more time, give us your website.
Sure. Marlon Saunders, MarlonSaunders.com. And you can check me out on Instagram. I have an Instagram account. There's a Twitter account. There's a Facebook account. They're all there. But the easiest way is, of course, to go to the website, and then the website can connect you there.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. And you hanging in there with me, just solo Jade. Which,
you were amazing, Jade. And it was great. It was great having this with you. And also, too, the conversation we had before about Maryland. So this is good.
It was fun. So crab cake, that's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to wrap it.
Woo! They don't know. They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know. You don't know if you don't know. So Google Maryland crab cakes, y'all, and then you'll know. So let me wrap this up. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andresort.com. While you're there, take a moment, go to the ladies tab, go down to the middle and see the charities that we probably support. Keep in mind, this is October, so this is Domestic Violence Month. So you please pay special attention to Powerful Beginnings. They are really doing some great work in their field. So if you can help them out, please do. Yes, we know it's 2020, so money is funny, like the old saying says. But maybe you have time, or you can donate other things like clothes and such. And if you can't do that, just add them on social media and say, thank you so much for doing this wonderful work in the world, because we all can use a little more encouragement. I thank you in advance for that. And remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, from the missing Winona and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, thanks for listening.